Hello, Carver. Welcome to another edition of On the Air. For CCAT, I am Ken Simmons, and we're going to take you through this magnificent church just to point out what's happening to the stained glass windows. And wait till you see them. They are absolutely gorgeous. We've got some great shots of it, and we've got a co-host that you're going to meet in just a little while. His name is Reverend Ed Hardy, and I understand he's fairly articulate, if somewhat deluded, but that's okay too. He's a great guy, I understand, and we're going to go in and meet him in just a minute. I have a message for you that I've been asked to deliver to you by CCAT. Would you like to be a community producer? Would you like to be on television? Would you like to make those hours that you're home watching TV or doing nothing a little more productive? Call 508-866-1019 and you'll talk to the nicest people in the world there. They'll teach you how to camera technique. They'll teach you editing, very important. Editing is very important. Sound, they'll teach you that. Lighting, they'll teach you that. And they'll send you out to do shows like this, or your own idea of a show, whatever you'd like to do. Think of it. I have a lot of fun. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I have a lot of fun doing it, especially when you work with guys like these. Okay, that's enough. Remember, 508-866-1019. You're going to enjoy it. Keep watching CCAT. Tell your friends and neighbors about it. You're going to see what you like. You're going to like what you see. And come on with me. We'll meet my co-host. Okay, as promised, as my co-host for the day, Mr.
Ed Hardy.
Ed Hardy.
Right.
Do I?
Reverend Ed Hardy.
Reverend Ed Hardy.
My
All
daughter
right.
says irreverend.
She knows you better than I do.
Yes.
I'm sure you're not. You have a very handsome face. You got a good TV face. They tell me I got a good radio face.
If I knew I was going to be on television, I would have shaved today.
Well, we look similar. They certainly call me irreverent.
Right.
How long have you been here?
I've been here just over a year.
Are you enjoying it?
Yes, very much so far.
Plymouth native?
No, I'm not. I'm a native Massachusetts native. I'm a homeboy.
You're a Massachusetts native?
Right.
But not Plymouth?
No, not
Where were you born?
native Massachusetts.
Natick?
Yep, born and raised.
Okay, that's what you said, isn't it?
Yes,
Natick.
I
I
did.
didn't catch that. I
That's
didn't
all
catch it. I'm a little, it's too early in the morning for me.
That's what the congregation says all the time.
Enjoy it here.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the history of this grand old building?
Oof. Well, there's been a continuous church on this site since 1601.
Wait a minute. Hold it. I know my history better than that. The Pilgrims didn't land till 1620.
You're right, 1621. It's a good thing someone knows their history here.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you.
1621.
Right, so there've been 5 churches on this spot. 3 of them burnt down.
So this is not the original church, going
No.
back to that.
No.
My imagination ran away with me.
In the old days, when the service would be 2 or 3 hours, people would bring a bucket of hot coals with them. And sometimes they left them smoldering in the church afterwards. So
That's the
we
reason for
lost
3
3
churches. So the first ones were wooden.
Yes. And this one, they finally said, let's make it of stone. And this one was built in 1899.
1899,
Yes.
fairly recent then.
Yes, it's a young baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything inside is as recent as that?
Yes.
Is there anything left from 1621 in here?
There's a stone that the separatists brought from England that was part of the foundation of the church in Scrooby, England, where they met. I'll show it to you when we get up into the sanctuary.
Yeah, I like that. And Scrooby, if we can back up just a bit, the cameraman, if you'll follow me, and the cameraman can follow me. This says ministers of the First Church at Scrooby, England.
Scrooby, England, right.
I just want to point that out to the people watching so they can see the actual word Scrooby,
Right.
because it sounds a little funny.
Yeah, it does. But that's where the first church was organized for the separatists in Scrooby, England, 1606. Then they went to Holland in 1608. Then they came back from Holland and planned to come here.
So they came back from Holland to England.
Right. When they got to Holland, after they were there for a while, their children started to learn Dutch and become comfortable with the Dutch Reformed Church. And so then the parents got very uncomfortable. Anyone who's been an immigrant to another country knows that experience of losing their culture as their children grow up in a new society and a new culture. So they got very uncomfortable with that. So they went back to England before coming here.
Isn't that an interesting story? I never knew that.
Right.
You know, you could almost call the Pilgrims illegal immigrants.
Well, they did ask King James I for a charter, and he refused them. But he didn't like the separatists very much. But he did allow them to come, which was unusual. Most groups that came had a charter from the king. The Pilgrims, they weren't really known as Pilgrims until about the 1850s.
Oh,
They were really known as Puritan separatists.
Puritan separatists.
And the important thing for them was the separatists. They were trying to separate from the Church of England. They wanted to purify the church from the way it was, and they wanted to help purify the Catholic Church. But the separatists, so that's all the Puritans. They were trying to purify the church. The separatists felt that it would be impossible, so they just wanted to live by what was in the Bible, because fairly recently to that time, people finally had a copy of the Bible they could read and interpret for themselves. So the separatists would only do things that were in the Bible. So they didn't have religious weddings. That they considered that a civil ceremony. They didn't follow the Nicene Creed because it's not in the Bible. They didn't celebrate Christmas in any particular way because there's none of that in the Bible. So they wanted to live what they call sola scriptura, purely by the Bible, the word of the Bible.
Wow.
Right.
What an interesting story. I never knew that.
Right.
But yet, history has it, or word has it, that some of the separatists, formerly known as Pilgrims, some of the separatists were kind of rogues.
Rogues?
Rogues, yeah.
Well, all
Alcoholics. Womanizers. Am I right or
of
wrong?
they were human.
Good answer. That's a good answer.
There's still all the failings that the human society
Absolutely.
has.
Although I don't see alcoholism as a failing necessarily. It's a disease, I guess, but
Well, that would be our interpretation today, but in their day, it was definitely a failing.
yeah.
You know, in 1 Corinthians, it says if you're an alcoholic or a drunkard, you won't get into heaven.
Does it say that really?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
I'm getting scared.
Not worry. You're here. We are universalists, and we believe God, everyone will go to heaven, no exceptions.
That was my next question.
Right.
What denomination are you, Reverend?
I'm a Unitarian Universalist,
Unitarian Universalist.
which are two different denominations that join together.
That means anybody can go to this church.
Well, not anybody. This isn't. People pick their religions. It's like picking your favorite song.
Yeah.
We don't sing everybody's song here.
Okay.
So there are people who wouldn't want to be here, but then there, hopefully, a lot of people find some comfort here in our kind of, not theology, but our philosophy or whatever.
Okay, so just let me sort things out in my mind for the people that are viewing us. Not that they're as dumb as I am, but this church is 114 years old, and it's not the first church that was ever here. It happens to be the fourth church or the third church?
Fifth.
Fifth church, right. The fifth church that's been on this site, all the other churches were on this site.
Right.
I wonder why they picked this particular site.
Because you can look right out the door down to the ocean, and it was a high hill above the ocean. One of the things that helped the Pilgrims survive was that in somewhere between 1616 and 1618, there was a, excuse my neighbor,
Yeah.
between 1616 and 1618, there was a plague here, probably the bubonic plague or measles or something like that, that was brought by the fishermen who used to fish offshore.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And it wiped out about 90% of the population. And that was very helpful to the Pilgrims because that meant that the Indians who were here, led by Massasoit,
Yeah.
they were anxious to make allies rather than just wipe the Puritans out.
Yeah.
So they were looking to kind of rebuild their political security in the area.
We're standing kind of in the shadows.
Right.
Can we go down that way just a bit and point the camera? Okay, no, you can't see it now.
You can't see it now, but also up at the Plymouth plantation, there's an exact replica of this and the first church/fort that was on the site. So there was a building, the upper part, they brought some cannons from England. So there was like a top of a fort, and then the bottom was the meeting house for political activities and the church. They used the same space for their church, so there's no separation between church and state. Right in the same building.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You are full of interesting stories. I
Well-
think that's a great story. I think that first story you told was great, too.
Everything I'm saying is Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, of course. When you're preaching here on Sunday,
Yes.
do you relate any of those stories to the people?
Well, this summer, I did a series of 6 sermons based on the virtues of the windows here in the narthex. So there were virtues and values that were important to the separatists. So the last one I'm going to do this coming Sunday is on light. So they considered light a virtue. So I didn't know what the heck they meant because they didn't have any electric lights. They had candles and
Yeah.
whatnot. But they're talking about the light of Jesus and the light of God. And they felt that the way you and I would be able to find that light and generate it in our own life was to do good works. So everyone at all times should be doing good works for other people. And that would be how to generate the light of Jesus or the light of God in yourself.
And
So-
another great story. You know, I'm of the Jewish persuasion,
Uh-huh.
and the reason for
Shalom Aleichem. Happy holidays.
thank you very much. And the reason for wearing a yarmulke, do you know the reason?
I did it one time, but I forget.
You wear a yarmulke anytime you're doing God's work.
Ah,
That's an indication that you are not to be disturbed because you are now doing God's work.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
All
so-
right, good.
Yeah,
I should get a yarmulke then.
maybe. You know, in the Catholic religion, I noticed that the cardinals and the Pope
Right,
even,
right.
they wear what I consider a yarmulke. I don't think they call it that, but
Right, no, they,
I always wondered why they would wear that, because they're doing God's work.
well, they have a lot of, the Catholics have a lot of hats, particularly the cardinals and the Pope, and I think a lot of it is station-oriented. And my Tibetan teacher, I think the Tibetans even topped the Roman Catholics on their hats.
You had a Tibetan teacher?
I have a Tibetan
Oh,
teacher.
you know something? I'm going to have to cut this short because I could talk religion with you all day long. I think it's a fascinating subject.
I do too.
Whether you believe in
Right.
Judaism or Muslim or whatever, it's all
Right.
fascinating.
I went to a party once and I stepped in the door. They said, "We're not talking religion or politics tonight." I said, "Well, give me my coat back. I'm going home."
If you can rationally discuss those things,
Right, right.
it's a fascinating topic.
Right, right.
Why are we here today?
I don't know. Why are you here today? What would you like to know?
Somebody said something about stained glass windows.
Well, we're in the middle of a fairly massive restoration project, and we're going to restore all of the windows here in the church. These windows have been up for 100 years, and you know, some of the lead in the windows and whatnot, I'll point it out, is coming apart. Some of the windows are broken, the glass in the stained glass windows.
Yeah.
So the Community Preservation Committee has allocated over $300,000 for us to restore the windows. So some of the bigger ones are going to be taken out fairly soon, and we don't have an exact date yet.
You're talking about restoring, not replacing.
Restoring, not replacing. No, these are national treasures. Some of them are Tiffany glass.
Wow.
We're in the process of
Really, Tiffany?
yeah, made in the Tiffany studios. I think one or two of them were actually signed by Tiffany.
You people sitting at home, I am almost speechless because you know Tiffany lamps and Tiffany this and Tiffany that, and I'm standing here. I just arrived here, and I'm looking up now at some of the stained glass windows and they are absolutely the best I've ever seen. They're so clear, and there's no light out today. It's a very overcast day, and yet I see light.
Right. Of course, the windows of this style are made so that any light outside, the inside's darker, and they'll make the windows pop.
Yeah,
You know.
and they really do.
Right.
Holy mackerel. Can we go up and take a look at a couple of them? That are...
Well, let's start with the big one that's going to come out first.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So here in these windows, these are all the signers of the Mayflower Compact that they signed when they first got here
Look at that.
out in Providence Harbor.
Look at that.
This is the window on light. It says here, the path of the just is a shining light that shineth more and more into the perfect day. So part of the perfection of a human being is doing good works for others. To always be reaching out to help other people.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we all did that? Huh?
Amen.
Wouldn't it be wonderful?
Amen.
I wonder sometimes why we can't, because it's more fun to do good than it is to do bad, I think.
I think so too. So this window here, there's several windows in the narthex that are key events in the life of the Separatists. And when they went to Holland, William Brewster, Ben Brewster is one of the descendants who's a member of the church, so I used his name instead of William.
You have a descendant of William Brewster?
Yes.
Here in this church?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
We have a lot of descendants here in the church.
Do you really?
Yeah. So this, William Brewster brought a printing press from England to Holland. And when in Holland, they started writing seditious pamphlets, which they smuggled back into England. And King James got quite upset. And he either contacted the Dutch government or he sent in his CIA and they destroyed the printing press. Wow. So I'm not exactly sure if it was Dutch military or something. So this is a window showing them destroying the printing press.
Holy man, and it says destruction of ye pilgrim
Press
at Leiden?
at Leiden, that's in Holland.
Now there's a street over here with the same spelling.
Oh, yes, sir.
Leiden Street.
Right, named after the town of Leiden in Holland.
Oh, see, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Lots of these streets. So this is the window on truth. And then over on the other side, there are another set of windows that have other events of the Separatists. And
these are just gorgeous, you know?
they're beautiful.
These are gorgeous. Has there been ever a monetary value placed on these?
No. At least I don't know.
By the way, we're entering the church now, the sanctuary, and as you open the door and enter, if you'll forgive me and if you'll permit me, it's almost like a holy place. Just walking in the door, it's a holy place. You can feel it. It's almost palpable.
Yeah, it is.
It's first time I've experienced that, by the way. Okay. Now these windows are a little bit plainer.
These are just plain, ordinary stained glass windows. All glass that was put in in the 1890s. You can see here, the lead here is separating.
Oh, yeah.
And the glass is broken.
Yeah.
So when they take these windows out, they would take this window, they take it to their studio, they take it totally apart, every single piece, and then they fix all the broken pieces. They'll restore the broken pieces, they'll re-straighten out the lead, put them all back in. So the first window that they're going to take out is this window over here.
When is this going to happen?
We don't have an exact date right yet for the window to be taken out. Is this window here?
Oh, my word, look at that.
The center window, actually, they're probably going to take all three of these windows out at the same time. And they're going to take them out, undo the wooden framing around them. The wooden framing will be restored by another company. And then these windows will be taken up to a studio in Needham, and they will take them totally apart, repair all the pieces. If you get to the right angle, let's move over a little. You'll notice right on the arch here, just above his hand,
Yeah.
right on the edge, you can see a little bit of light.
Yeah.
That's the outside.
That's the outside.
Right. You can see through the window. So you can see the condition that they're in, that they need to be repaired.
Yeah, yeah. But I never would have known. It's not noticeable.
Right. Well, I think it gets more noticeable. He got it on camera, but you got to get right in the right spot. But there's probably about a 4-inch space.
Okay.
So these three windows.
What is this a depiction of?
That's what I'm going to go for.
Okay.
So you see this far right window here.
Yes.
In the background, there's a windmill.
I see it. Yes.
All right.
Yes. Now that you pointed it out.
So there they were in Holland. That's a symbol of them being in Holland. They went there. I'm not sure exactly how many years they were there, like 8 or 12. And then, as I said, their children started to learn Dutch, and they felt like they were losing a grasp of the kids, and they weren't going to learn the religion that they were trying to exercise themselves.
Right.
So they went back to Holland. And this center picture in the blue is Reverend John Robinson. He was the leader of the congregation, and probably in our day now we'd call him quite a radical theologian.
Really?
Well, because he was really pushing to purify the Anglican Church, and then he got to the point where he felt that it would be impossible to purify it because it was so much under political control, and so many of the ministers in the Puritan Church in England were just Roman Catholic priests who were told they had to change when Henry VIII said change. They all had to change and put on a different hat. So he felt that they would never be solidly behind the religion that the Puritans wanted to live out of the Bible.
Is there a separatist religion today as they wanted it to go strictly by the Bible?
Yes, there are. That's not my strength.
Okay.
So I can't.
I just wanted to.
5 or 6.
Okay, but that's okay. But I just want to know that still exists.
Right. Oh, yes. There are several denominations that, in varying degrees, believe that the Bible is the absolute inerrant Word of God. Some believe, so then it gets a little bit more liberal, so that today there are some of the liberal Christian traditions. We'd have to get Reverend Nablo up over here, but some of the more liberal Christian traditions, there are certain parts that they would call myth or stories out of the time, or, so that there's a lot more flexibility rather than the direct Word of God.
Yeah.
But in her pews, there are probably some of every piece of that spectrum that would say from absolutely inerrant Word of God, every word in the Bible's God's Word, to some that say, oh yeah, well, some of it's a reflection of the culture of Rome and all of,
So, as a man of the cloth yourself, do you believe that everything that's in the Bible is God's Word?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No. I believe that the great myths, a lot of them untrue stories about great truths.
Wow, what a great way to put that.
You know, that the myth of that's built is to tell a bigger truth. So lots of people say Jesus and never say Jesus the Christ. But when Jesus went from Jesus the Christ, it was a huge step up into what they were trying to say is the most important values.
Here we are getting into religion again.
Right,
now. And I've got one question to ask you, and I'm going to drop the religious until we get onto it again.
Okay.
Jesus Christ,
Yes.
was that his last name?
No. Christ is again. Now I'm in my weak area.
My grandson asked me that question.
Right.
If that was his last name, then was Joseph Christ and Mary Christ his mother and father?
Yeah. No. Christ is means more like Savior or Redeemer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good enough.
My Protestant friends, please forgive me. I'm a member of the Plymouth Interfaith, so
remember that you people sitting at home viewing this, that he had no idea what questions I was going to ask, and if he asked me to submit a list of questions, I wouldn't, because I like spontaneity. So I kind of put him on the spot with a few things. So anything that he says that may offend you or upset you a little bit, please forgive him. It's not his fault, it's mine.
Right. Well, I'm also a practicing Tibetan Buddhist, so that's my main spiritual.
Be still my heart. I don't think I can take much more of this. A Tibetan Buddhist.
Yes.
You know, years ago when I was a little kid, I was very taken with the Tibetans. Isn't that where the High Lama?
The Dalai Lama.
Dalai
yes.
Lama, yeah.
His Holiness.
And when I read that, as a kid now, I'm talking 10 years old,
right.
I said, now there's a religion I could get into.
Right.
These men have nothing
right.
except their religion.
Well, most of my Buddhism was taught to me by disaffected Jews.
Is that right?
Right. Jewish Americans who went to Asia, either with the Peace Corps or with some huge longing, and fell in love with Buddhism and came back to America and started teaching it here. Joseph Goldstein, Jack Kornfield, Sharon.
You know, I don't know if you people are enjoying this, but I sure am. Okay, we've got to get off now, Olivia. We're still on the stained glass window.
So this is John Robinson. He was the founder of the separatist movement, out of which the 30 or 40 separatists that came on the Plymouth boat were from his congregation. They took
out of 102, there were only 30 or 40 separatists?
Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Right. Well, there were really three main groups on the boat. There were the separatists, the adventurists, and the sailors.
Are you using a euphemism when you say adventurous?
No, there were people who felt that they could come to America and create a fortune.
Okay.
You know, there already were fishing boats coming here and filling themselves up with fish and bringing back furs and things that the Indians. So Miles Standish was one of the adventurers. He wasn't a separatist. So they came. There were three groups, and they didn't get along so well on the boat. Of course, they were in very tight quarters. They were most of them spent 66 days below decks. The English at that point in time felt it was unhealthy to get too much fresh air, so rather than being up on the deck, they would stay down below quite a bit, and that's where a lot of the illnesses started to come from. They went through a lot of their food, so they were in a weakened condition when they finally arrived here. And that was what precipitated them writing the Mayflower Compact, because the sailors would make fun of the separatists. And the adventurers, you know, so that none of them were really getting along. And I think the separatists felt that they were going to be outnumbered as soon as they stepped on shore. So they wanted to draw up an agreement of how they would behave.
Oh, that's an interesting piece of history, too. I didn't know about.
And everybody signed on to it. And fortunately, they did. so that when the survival became so critical so quickly that if they hadn't worked together, probably none of them would have survived.
Wow, think about that. Yeah, just
If
think
they hadn't worked together, and if the Indians hadn't been in a weakened condition looking for allies, those two factors, if they had been different, the Indians would have normally probably wiped them out like they did in Jamestown. And if they hadn't worked together, the adventurous and the separatists, they probably would have all died out the first
Imagine that
year.
all coming together.
Right, it's just
And some people,
serendipity or God's word.
I was going to say, some people say there is no God.
Right.
Hey, can you believe that?
Yes, I can believe that.
Yes, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you see more of that than I do. Okay, the last picture, the last glass.
Well, So
okay.
the center one is him giving the blessing before they leave. And then this last frame, there were two boats that were going to come over.
When we say last frame, you people sitting at home, it's really the first frame.
Well,
We work from the back.
Yeah, well, historically coming across.
Okay, good.
So
Yeah,
that's
good,
the last
good, good.
So this boat here is the Speedwell. There originally were two boats that
yes, I knew
planned to
that.
come.
Yeah.
There was the Speedwell and the Mayflower.
Yep.
The Speedwell, they set sail from England. They got off the shore of England, and it leaked. So they went back to England. They tried to fix it. It leaked some more, so finally they went back, and they put everyone that they could onto the Mayflower.
Onto the Mayflower.
And then they came here. Yeah. Myth, maybe based on a little fact, has it that maybe the captain of the Speedwell was assisting the leaks.
Really? He didn't want to come over here.
This was a real adventure.
Well, the captain of the Mayflower, if you can believe what I saw, Spencer Tracy, he didn't want to come here either. So. Okay.
Well, there were fishermen from England and France and Holland and whatnot coming here every year to fish. So there were, that's where those diseases were coming from that were wiping out the Indians.
Before 1620, they were coming here to
Absolutely.
fish.
Yep. They had been coming here for a long time.
I didn't know that.
I don't know exactly, when the first boat, but they had been coming for a while.
I didn't know that.
Right. So it wasn't to build a colony was a different thing than just coming and fishing where it was that you could just throw down your net and fill up your boat real quick. So there were two different kinds of adventures, to come here and stay. That was quite a different thing.
Wow. Interesting.
So just an interesting story. Not long after the separatists were on the land starting to settle, an Indian walked into the village and said, "Hi, Englishman," because he had been taken on one of those English ships, fishing ships, and brought to England. He learned English, and finally he got back here on another boat. And so they were just absolutely stunned.
Yeah, they must have, wow,
Right.
what is this?
This is God speaking.
Yeah. Okay.
The sanctuary here was designed to look like the inside of a boat upside down.
Oh, yeah.
So this is like all of the ribbing of a boat. And a sanctuary in many ways is like a boat to go somewhere.
It looks like a boat turned upside down.
Right,
You're right. I get that feeling all of a sudden.
Right. So that's the feeling, all of this carved wood. And these end pieces, they have oak leaves and whatnot, which are kind of like the nature tradition out of England. They believed in forest nymphs and things that lived out in the woods, and hunters and whatnot, and so that's a symbol of that too.
Wow.
So
this is gorgeous. This is gorgeous. Okay, well, we'll go down the aisle now. We're going to see 3 more stained glass windows.
Yes.
I can see them from here. They're absolutely gorgeous. This one in the middle looks a little blurry. Am I right? Or is it my glasses?
It might be your glasses.
Or my age.
Or our
Or
age.
both.
We can do our age.
Or both. Could you
There aren't a lot of religious symbols in this sanctuary.
yeah, as you look around, you're right. Yeah.
Most of the symbols in here have to do entirely with the pilgrims.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
so the
That's only-
cross.
that's no more than right, though.
Right. Well, they bought it. They paid for it. So, like the cross here is more of an English cross. The crosses that you see in the sanctuary are more like English and Celtic crosses.
Okay, yeah.
But
I've never seen a double cross like that. That's the Alpha Omega. That's Greek.
yes, for the beginning and the end.
Ah,
So this is the beginning and the end.
okay.
You know, Christianity, what they wanted was the beginning and the end. You know, to live a good life, a life of works for other people was the way to get the light and be part of God. You know,
Can you do good works for other people and still drink?
well, it depends on what you're drinking.
Alcohol. Is that a sin in your eyes?
No, it's not a sin. Some people can drink alcohol and others can't.
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to get into that. I know what you're
And
saying.
those that can't shouldn't because they wreak a lot of havoc on innocent people.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Being the son of an alcoholic, I'm fully versed.
I am a son of an alcoholic too.
Right.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So, you know, it's like when they're talking about opening gambling parlors here,
Yeah.
which is another potential addiction.
Yes.
And they talk about giving money to the towns. I think that they should set aside a certain percentage of all the earnings for the children of people with gambling addictions
Well, wait a
who are
minute.
going to
Wait a
suffer.
minute. Wait just a minute. Isn't gambling a sin?
Not in my eyes. On some Christians' eyes, probably
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I don't consider myself a Christian. I'm outside of that window.
You don't consider yourself a Christian?
No, I'm a Buddhist and a Unitarian Universalist. Unitarian Universalists are not all Christians.
You
As I
believe in
said,
Christ?
I believe in Jesus.
If I say you believe in Christ, is that wrong?
No, it's not wrong. It's just I don't believe that Jesus was the Redeemer for all humanity.
Okay, we're going to stop there. I'm going to, again, explain to the people sitting at home that this conversation requires more than we have time for. But I recommend that if you're listening, I don't care if you're in Australia or in Plymouth, come and see this man preach. Because I'd go to see this man read the dictionary. I think he's fantastic. So, but we don't want to go too far
I
with
gotta
this.
be able to get my head out the door, you know.
No, I just, it's rare that you can talk to a man of the cloth like we're talking, man to man.
Right.
Because they always interject some religious or some spiritual thing in there that I didn't want at that time. But you're telling me the truth.
Well, I'm open to any religious idea as long as you don't want to shove it down my throat.
Yeah, I feel the same
When
way.
it comes to shoving it down my throat, I'm resisting.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I am.
But the rainbow of beliefs is just endless. Endless.
And fascinating.
What people want to believe and worship is endless. And I bless them all. But if you want to force it down my throat, I'm sorry, I'm going to resist.
And you're not a throat forcer downer, are you?
No, that's not. I'm not selling anything. You have to find what's going to turn your heart on fire.
But it's here if I want it.
Absolutely, it's in you if you want it.
Yeah.
It's already there, I believe.
Yeah.
It's just we. Unfortunately, all of us had growing up training, and so we're the result of that growing up training.
Yes.
And part of my spiritual belief is how to get that out of the way of the true nature of our heart and the true nature of our being. We were taught not to do this and not to do that.
Yes.
But in doing that, we covered up a lot of things that we really should be.
Yeah.
You know, we're afraid to cry when we're sad. We're afraid to be angry when we're angry. We're afraid to be lonely when we're lonely because somebody taught us not to be those things.
Yeah.
That's not the human condition.
No, it isn't. Not at all.
The human
Not,
condition is angry and is sad.
Absolutely.
And is happy and joyful and
absolutely.
Right.
It's a great life.
right,
But there are some bumps in the road.
right. As a friend of mine says, go and have a great day. No excuses.
Yeah, right.
There's
right.
no excuse not to have a great day.
Absolutely.
Right?
Somebody said once that life is a banquet, And some poor devils are starving to death.
Right, amen.
Yeah.
They are.
Too bad. Okay,
These
here we are.
windows.
We're in religion again, and I want to talk about windows.
So here it is.
Okay.
This is the center window is a window of them signing the Mayflower Compact. So when they got into the harbor at what's now Provincetown, they knew, the separatists knew that they were probably going to be outnumbered by the adventurous. So they wanted to set some rules before they even stepped off the boat. So they sat down and drew up a relatively short list of conditions, and they all signed it. So they had a working agreement before they even stepped off the boat. Now, this picture is probably historically incorrect, because there's no woman who signed the Mayflower Compact.
Oh, I see the lady there, yeah.
Right, and there's a lady sitting in a chair in the foreground here, and probably none of the women participated in the conversation in order to sign the compact.
In those days. They wouldn't get away with that today.
I'm not sure if this is in the realm of Ed's speculation, but Ed's speculation is that this was paid for, this window was paid for by Mayflower descendants in 1899, and I suspect there was probably a woman with some deep pockets who paid for this window.
Very, very good, very good observation.
You know, possibly.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, I
but that's
think you're
the story
right.
I'm telling
I think you're
you.
right. I think you're right.
The other thing is, it's a little bit historically incorrect in that the separatists didn't have buckles on their shoes.
Oh, really?
And we've got buckles on the shoes here. But the rest is probably fairly historically important.
Thank you very much.
People who have more knowledge than me can name all the men. Now, Miles Standish had red hair, but he was relatively short. They said he was a soldier. They said that he had to cut 4 to 6 inches off the tip of his sword so it wouldn't drag on the ground.
Well, you little guy, huh?
Yeah, so he's a little guy, and he was very sensitive about that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's some really wonderful stories about him. So all of those men can probably be named, and like the Bible, the woman probably can't be.
Probably.
In the
yeah.
Bible, most of the women are not named, and they're on the margins, just like this picture.
Yes. Yes.
Okay?
Question,
Yes. Oh, that's right.
before I forget it.
Right.
At the top, there's a banner. It says
Yes.
Plymouth,
Right.
1620,
1620,
and then it says
1849.
1849 New York. What does
Right.
that mean?
Right. That means most of the money to pay for this church came out of the Plymouth Heritage Society in New York.
Is that why that's up there?
That's why it's up there.
I'll be
Hey,
doggone.
you pay?
You get your
You
name
know,
on the floor.
who names the stadium where the Patriots play?
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So there it is.
Yeah.
Again, like I say, most of it's historically around the Pilgrims. You know, this spot, the Pilgrims stood here, died here, married here.
Gave
I mean,
birth
so
here.
or close by, and so this is their spot. You know, almost 400 years now. So this building is totally dedicated to this.
You know, Reverend Hardy, that whole thing just shakes me up. That whole pilgrim experience.
Right.
That they started this country.
Right.
Those 102 feeble, poor people
Right.
started a great country.
And half of them died the first year.
Half of them died the first year, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there were a lot of people, and a lot of people came quickly after them. But like the Mayflower Compact, many people feel it's the predecessor of the Constitution. of
Absolutely, sure.
Massachusetts And our national Constitution.
Absolutely. Has to
Because
be.
it talked about people having the right to decide how they're going to live.
Yeah, well, a lot of it comes from the Magna Carta, too.
Right, that's there in that's all part of the history that they
Yeah.
had
All
enough idea to
incorporated,
kind
all
of
incorporated.
sign something.
The next picture.
Then the two pictures on each side.
Yes.
This one is religious liberty over here, and this one over here is liberty for social progress, political freedom. Some people believe that this is Cromwell, And of course, he was the
Oliver
leader
Cromwell?
of Oliver Cromwell.
Yeah.
He was the leader of the Puritans in England. So that's what I'm not. Again, I'm on. My ice is thin here, but Cromwell. And just this morning, someone said that this might be Milton. Now, I being more local, I've said, well, this is probably a symbol of William Brewster, who was a brilliant, brilliant man. He was 56 when he got on the Mayflower boat to come over here.
Imagine that.
Right, right.
Wow.
Almost as though it's God himself, you know. So I would say this is William Brewster, and then I usually say, well, this is Miles Standish. But again, I don't have the literal fact of the documents. We were just talking about going and seeing if the society in New York has some documents about how they voted and what they thought these windows were and whatnot, just to help us cut down a little bit on the mythology that Ed can dream up.
That's okay. I enjoy the mythology because it's backed up by a little bit of history.
Right.
Hell,
Then the last important thing I want to point out to you
yes.
is this here is something that John Robinson, the founding minister, said to them as they left. He said, "The Lord hath more truth and light yet to break forth from his holy word." And for us, we believe that that means that nothing's decided. You know, that religion needs to be a living religion. That there's always more light and more truth yet to break forth, whether it's God's holy word or God's works or our works. It's all truth breaking forth. We believe that a religion should be a living tradition. So we have to deal with things today that they didn't need to deal with in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
We still deal with human relationships and things like that, where there's lots and lots of wisdom in the Bible, in the Old Testament, and lots of other religious texts. But everything needs to have a way to live and move forward into a future where there are cell phones and internet,
TV sets.
flying to the moon.
Flying to the moon. Yeah.
Right. You know, the other night I watched the rocket take off that was going to the moon. You know, it was beautiful. You could see it on the sky, and it just went across the southeastern horizon. And so that's something that they didn't deal with when the Pilgrims got here.
Does it bother you because the work you do sometimes is ineffective? And you know it?
No. So I had a friend who is a person of color, and their whole life they've been working on ending racism. And I said, "You get tired of doing this battle?"
What a great example.
You know, and they
what a
said,
great example.
"I have no other choice. This is what my heart calls me to do. And if your heart calls you to do something, nothing matters."
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You know, have you anything more to show us here?
Oh, there's lots to show.
I mean,
I've
regarding
given
the-
you the I've given
the
you
windows.
Big, yeah, I've given you the big picture.
Maybe we could come back when the windows are done?
Oh,
You know what I'd
absolutely.
love to do is go to where they're going to do the windows
They
and
would-
get a few pictures of that.
Once they're up there, they would be delighted to have you.
I'm sure they would. I'm not
we're-
sure we got the time. Or
We're planning some field trips from the church to go up,
Oh.
so we can, you know, it's pretty fascinating, and they're very proud of what they do, and so they welcome people coming in to see the project in
Wow,
process.
great.
So Jan Palmer Tarbox would have that information. She unfortunately couldn't be here today. She knows more than I'll ever know
You did a
about
pretty
this
good job.
project.
You did a pretty good
Oh,
job.
good. Then she'll be happy, and I'd love her to be happy.
Yes.
She's really the moving force in the church behind this restoration project, and all of this money and work that's going to be done, really belongs to her credit for her persevering when everybody was saying, "No, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen." You
Yeah.
know, and she just kept working, and she's got a small committee that works with her. They're great people.
Before we part company,
Yes.
there's an audience out there. Do you have anything you'd like to say to them?
Drink deeply from the cup of life.
Wow, beautifully, well said. Ed Hardy,
Nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for a very enlightening
I
day.
love your curiosity.
I am probably the most curious and the dumbest person you'll ever meet.
Well, that dumbness keeps asking questions. It's great.
Thank you so much again.
It was a
and
pleasure.
I hope we see each other again. Maybe I'll come
sure
to
we
one of
will.
your services if you
Sure.
don't mind.
No, not at all.
All right.
The door's always open on Sunday.
Thank you. Ed Hardy, great guy, man of the cloth, articulate, a little glib sometimes. That's okay. I like that. I have had a spectacular day. I have had, what can I say? I know more now than when I stepped in here earlier this morning. Thanks to the Reverend Ed Hardy. And thanks to you people viewing. I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm going to sign off because I feel like it, like Red Skelton, one of my favorite comedians. Nice, clean guy, clean comedian. He used to sign off by saying goodbye and God bless.